Hello and welcome. In recent years, Nigeria's national budgets have expanded dramatically, reflecting bold government ambitions to drive growth and tackle urgent social and infrastructure challenges. Yet, behind the impressive figures lies a persistent problem: implementation. Too often, budgets are rolled over from one circle to the next, operating side by side with new allocations. This unusual and sometimes confusing pattern raises serious questions about fiscal discipline, accountability, and the real impact on the lives of citizens. Tonight, we sit down with a man who has spent decades analyzing governance, fiscal responsibility, and economic reform. He's a lawyer, policy analyst, and the lead director of the Center for Social Justice, Mr. Eze Onyekwere. Together, we'll unpack Nigeria's fiscal future and explore how budgetary choices shape the everyday realities of its people. Thank you for being our guest this week.
Good morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, I would like to go first for you to maybe give us like an overview of your organization, the Center for Social Justice.
Let me start by saying that the Center for Social Justice works on about 3 to 4 critical areas, but the thread that runs through all of them is public finance management, that public resources are made to work and be of benefit to all Nigerians. That could possibly summarize most of the work we do, whether it's in campaign finance, gender, rights enhancement. There's a lot of focus on public resources. And by public resources, I don't mean just finances alone, because resources are beyond money. We have ecological resources, we have technology, we have information. It may surprise you. It's a very huge resource, because the work we just finishing is that Nigerian research, agricultural research institutes are doing tremendous work lying on their shelves, and there should be extension services that links the farmer with the findings and innovations of these publicly financed research institutes. So we are now compiling what they've done and that data, publishing it, and trying to link up with those grassroots farmers who need them, but they don't have access to that knowledge. Okay? So that's the kind of thing I'm saying. Resources goes beyond, and I moved information because this is a media house for you to even know that information alone, if you're able to utilize that resource, is very critical in terms of development. And of course, the monies, which everybody is looking at. So we are looking at the money, we are following the money, we are proposing how government can make more resources and manage them more efficiently for improving the standard of living of the average Nigerian, which is the encapsulation of whatever all the rights we are discussing about, is the right to an adequate standard of living.
I think I like the way you phrased it, and I think we'll take both on, at least the part I want us to look at when it comes to the financing. You're looking at the inflow and how it is outflow. So we'll look at that. But I think one thing I love the most, and which you're well known for, is how you look at yearly budgets. And you will come out with reports to look at it and see how to make it better, and also how to make it more impactful to ordinary citizens. The last report was the one you looked at, the 2026 budget?
Yes.
Can you tell us about that report?
Well, what we found is a continuation of the norm. Continuation of the norm in terms of this has been the trajectory even since Obasanjo's days. But it has become accentuated, particularly since the Muhammadu Buhari days. Now, what we see is clear intention, the clear animus to mismanage public resources in a number of agencies. I'll give you the example of the Ministry of Power, okay, National Rural Electrification Agency, where you have a situation that there are specific budgets for rural electrification, for solar energy, for renewable energy projects, listed clearly against some towns, villages, constituencies. And after you've listed them, running into hundreds of billions, you now have an omnibus clause, okay? Renewable energy projects in the Northwest.
I don't know, I didn't get that.
I say after you have broken them down,
yes,
you have renewable energy projects in local governments,
Yes.
in specific streets and towns in,
Yes.
say, Kano State.
Yes.
You now come and have renewable energy projects in the Northwest and allocate, like, say, 2 or 3 billion. You replicate them in the Northeast, South-South, Southeast, and Southwest. So you create a slush fund. Then sometimes you see the use of meaningless jargons in terms of, we all studied English. I mean, English is what we went to school with. And at the end of the day, you see something like a catalytic renewal. What does that mean? Absolute nonsense. Absolutely nothing. Almost all the loans that they got, whether in the Ministry of Power, Ministry of Agri, Ministry of Health, they put them at lump sums and just use one phrase. Now, if you are trying to monitor 70 billion naira in agriculture, for Ministry of Agriculture, and what you have is, let's say, value chain development. What does value chain development? If you know the concept of a value chain, you are starting from when you are tilling the ground, to seed cultivation, to weeding, to putting fertilizer, to harvesting, and then even to value addition. So if you want to monitor a 70 billion project in the Ministry of Agriculture called value addition, where do you start? You go to Karana Mother and ask them about value addition, and then you will go back to Umuahia.
These examples you're giving, these are not general in our budget. This is specific to the
2026. And I'm saying this has been the pattern over the years. You will find it in health, you find it in agriculture, and the most guilty party, like I said, is the Rural Electrification Agency and the Ministry of Power. Why am I even worried about that particular sector? Now, these small electricity projects you find in the federal budget ideally should be the domain of local governments and states. And then they've also created development commissions across the zones. Development commissions are not going to take up 1 trillion projects like the big routes. These are the small projects, small schools, hospitals, maternities, get them renovated. So you're likely going to have a scenario where local government will make appropriations, state government will make appropriations, development commissions will make, and then the federal government comes after providing specific with this omnibus money. And they never account for it year after year. And you have over 8 trillion stacked in service-wide votes. What is service-wide votes? I will tell you with utmost respect that from my perception, it's become a slush fund. Every year you say 350 billion for Millennium Development Goals or Sustainable Development Goals. Sustainable Development Goals, I think they're about 14 or thereabout. I don't know the exact number. Which of them? Is it for child education? Is it for access to water? Is it for food? Is it for health? So it's a slush fund. Meanwhile, you are budgeted for these various ministries. And that money is not put under the direction of any minister or ministry. Now, let me give you an example. The typical scenario, what tells you how that money is managed. Every year Nigeria is going to play football, or the women or boys or volleyball, anything. They don't give the money for those international competitions to the Ministry of Sports or whoever is in charge of sports. They put it in service-wide votes. So that's why every time the Eagles play, after the first 2 matches, they say they are no longer going to train. They've not been paid. The minister or whoever is in charge has to run back to the Ministry of Finance, the presidency, run kitty kata. They will now bring money. We will not train for a day or two, and then we go and play that match. We are definitely losing it because we are not longer playing that match with our minds. You put money for immunization of children and centralize it and refuse to leave it to the control of the Minister of Health. Meanwhile, you are going to hold the Minister of Health accountable for Nigeria's health indicators. So this is a pool of slush funds that nobody has been accounting for over the years. This is over 8 trillion. So that's not the way to run a budget. We've been complaining of this year after year. The Rosanya Committee did say something about it over 10 years ago in the Jonathan days. And we are still stuck with this.
This is actually, you are talking now of even the concepting the budget, the way it is.
The conceptual analysis. Now, instead of giving Ministry of Health money, you are having a renewed hope agenda health outreach. A renewed hope agenda health outreach. So while you are starving the Ministry of Health of money to do impactful, evidence-led scientific work, you are going out under the renewed hope agenda to now project it as a personal affisandum, personal help that a president is doing out of his personal money to citizens. Okay, like going out to say you are paying for 50,000 students to take JAM in the Southeast. So it's like a personal help. This is taxpayers' money, which will ideally be channeled through the Ministry of Education, through an evidence and scientific process. Because in that renewed hope agenda, who are they going to account to? If they disburse to 10,000 and say they've disbursed to 50,000, where is the evidence? Who are you going to ask about how the money is spent? So there is a clear intention to mismanage public resources, and that intention is framed. This is wholesale fraud preparation. That intention is pushed into the budget from minute one. And so whatever is passed will be implemented. And those parts that touch the public good, they may be ignored, just like it was ignored in 2025. And you know the worst of it? You know the president promised that we are going to fully implement the remaining part of the 2025 budget before the end of the first quarter. That's 30th March. The other day, the Minister of Finance, for State for Finance, said it's being shifted to November. November. Now, she also said something else. Between her and the Accountant General, says something to the effect that the money for the implementation of that last part of 2025 will be released this March. So they've not released it. As we speak today, the budget is not passed. And you are deferring the full implementation of capital 2025 to November 2026. So when will the capital budget of 2026 be implemented whenever it is passed? You can be sure it may not be passed until early April or maybe later this month. So when will we in place? So what I'm trying to tell you is that there is a system to what we consider to be mistakes. They are not mistakes. There's a system to the madness. It is premeditated. The administration knows what it's doing. The other day, the Minister of Finance was asked questions about disbursements. Yes. An honorable member from Abia State pinned them down to talk about critical monies, 1.5 trillion he was so sure of.
That was earmarked.
Earmarked. And the Minister of Finance couldn't answer. He said this for the Minister of State. Minister of State came and started speaking in tongues. Okay? So what I'm trying to say, this is premeditated. Now, if you go to the budget of each ministry, agriculture, health, there are what is called project-tied loans.
Okay.
Which are loans Nigeria have already negotiated, bilateral and multilateral loans from World Bank, from IMF, from different agencies. Some of them we've started drawing, some of them. So they put the component they intend to use for that year in the budget. Sometimes running up to $1 billion or $2 billion. Now ask yourself, if a ministry has a bilateral project-tied loan or multilateral project-tied loan of, say, $100 billion, or say, let's say $500 million, and it's written into the budget, and there is evidence that Nigeria has drawn down that money,
yes,
and yet they have not implemented jack. That ministry is not yet implemented up to 10% of its budget, capital budget, and that drawdown alone could account for 30 to 40% of its capital budget. So tell me what you think is happening.
I would like us, even from the little you said now, there's enough to take up, and I think I'll try to see if we can get back to it. But I want to understand from you. You started by saying that this appears to be something that has been sustained over the years.
Systematic.
Where do you see the problem being at? Because I know that one of the things that was done was to try and do a budget office. We set up a budget office to take care of some of these things.
Budget we have in the executive, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
We also have the Ministry of National Planning.
Budget and National Planning. And now, finance as well.
So where do we have this problem of where we have a problem where the budget appears to be less clear than it should be?
The Accountant General was pulled in by the National Assembly and queried why he was not disbursing money.
Yeah.
The Accountant General, when he was interrogated, his key takeaway is that I cannot disburse what is not available to me. That's what the Accountant General, that's the summary of what he said when he was grilled. I cannot disburse what is not available to me. You pull in the Minister of Finance and grill him, he says he's Minister of State. You pull in the Minister of State and grill her, nothing comes out of it. What does that tell you? The buck stops at somebody's table. We didn't elect the Minister or Minister of State. We did not elect the Accountant General. So if these people cannot answer these questions, you got to bring in their boss, who is the elected president. The buck stops at his table. All these people work under his direction and control, answerable to him. They work at his pleasure. If he wakes up in the morning, he doesn't like the pimple or anything on their face, he doesn't need to give anybody any excuse, including the National Assembly. Simply say, you got to go, and you go.
Yes, but
so I'm saying yes. Mr. President has explanations to make. If you recall, in late September or middle of September last year, he regaled Nigerians with the fact that as at August, that we have fully met the full year forecasts for non-oil revenue.
Revenue, yes.
Now we have met the full year figure in August. So the implication is that the monies that we made in September, October, November, and December, we are jara on top, not actually appropriated. So if we could do that, the idea of paucity of revenue can no longer be on the table. So if you want to put it on the table, you are now saying Mr. President lied. All the loans he requested were approved by the National Assembly timeously. They approved it without even holding public hearings and refused to make the records available to Nigerians, because I know I specifically asked for the last schedule that the federal government said, the president said, approve these loans. I said, the first page is not the issue. Where are the details, project by project, the allocation? The National Assembly refused to give it to me. I said I should go to the presidency to go look for it.
Yes, but you see, this comes back to what I
And that's why I'm saying the buck stops at somebody's table.
The buck stops at the president's table.
Yes.
Are you saying for the design, for where, like you're saying now, we have budget items that are put in place that are not specific, they are not clear.
That are clear intentions to mismanage public resources.
I'm saying, so where does that blame lie? Is it in the budget office? Is it in the Ministry of National Planning? Because these are supposed to be the experts, the people that know how.
Is it beyond the budget office and Ministry of Planning?
Yes.
And Ministry of Finance? The president has a plethora of aides. How many aides does he have? Economic matters, budget, name every item, everything on it, every subject. The president has aides. What is their work? What is their work? Okay, why are they not working on these things when we pull them out? You know, we do this thing year after year. In fact, for instance, this year, there's no donor paid for it. I did it at my own expense. I did it at my own expense, made copies, published, and sent to every member. How many of them? In the Senate and in the House.
400 and...
Yeah, and I know when my boys went to distribute them, he said as one committee, the guy was asking them, you know, he didn't understand. He was like, what is motivating you people? What exactly do you intend to achieve? What is why
taking the trouble? Why are you taking
the trouble every year to bring this thing? What exactly? And they were explaining to him that they are working for the public good. I did it with my personal money. It doesn't really, it's something I've said I will do. I mean, it wouldn't cost a fortune for me to do that.
So you've pulled them out, and each time
to them.
Yes. And each time we keep repeating the same.
That's why I say this. That's why I use the word deliberate intention. I use the word animus, the Latin jargon, in terms of a man is presumed to anticipate and to expect the natural consequences of his act.
Okay. So let's follow the budgetary process. A bill is brought to, is put together.
Yeah.
We've tried to look at the people who put it together on the executive side.
Yeah, and the legislature.
It's now brought to the legislature to now look at. Why is that?
Which they should be the representatives of the people.
Yes.
But their thought trend and what they've been doing over the years raises the question, are they truly the representatives of the people? Did many of them come there on the mandate in terms of if the votes counted? Now, even what they did on the day they received the budget tells you what they're likely to do. When the president came in, instead of concentrating on receiving it and singing the national anthem, they were singing his personal pet song on their mandate, on his mandate. So when the National Assembly is singing on the mandate of Mr. President, you can know that this is not just a rubber stamp National Assembly. It is a National Assembly where if Mr. President asks them to jump, they will not even look where they're jumping. They'll ask, how high do you want us to jump? Is that not what they're doing? Is that not what they did to the Electoral Act? We do not. There are very few real men who are men in terms of having the fear of God and the empathy and sympathy for the suffering masses of Nigerians. Look at their budget year after year. Has it not been increasing? Now, in 2025, apart from that, their big budget, if you go to service-wide votes, there's a further 100 billion the president kept there for them. And you can be sure that most of that money has been disbursed, because even if they say they're not releasing money, National Assembly's money is not what you play with. Otherwise, you know, an impeachable offense is whatever the legislature designates as impeachable. There is nothing. So their money must be released. And for him to be having this kind of collaboration, doing what he has, and they're not doing oversight, you'll be sure that they must be happy. And the only way to make them happy is to release money. So what I'm saying is that we have, but we don't have a national legislature. Being the true representatives of the people, they can say whatever they like. They can want us to address them as honorable and distinguished. But I'm saying the bulk and majority of them are not there looking out for me, looking out for you, looking out for the poor men, women, and children who are defenseless across the Federation. They are there looking for their own pocket, majority of them.
Now,
especially from the ruling party.
Let me take you up on the issue, like we've tried to do now. We've looked at it from the budget. It's been coming. It's been passed. But we've had a unique issue within the last 3 years, whereby we have budgets that are passed.
2-3 budgets running at the same time.
And then they will what do we call it? They will
keep rolling over.
And it's, I think for me, my own trying to remember from the time I've been paying attention to budgets, I haven't had a situation where in the last, we have this sort of
2-3 budgets
rolling. And then what do you see as the major problem? I know you've mentioned one, the issue of financing, because that's part of what they say.
No, but that's not true.
Okay.
But that's not true. We've debunked that because from the words of the president, the problem is lack of, there's always what is done in the donor world or generally in Nigeria, you say, oh, build capacity, train them. It's not about lack of capacity. It's not about lack of laws and policies. It's the acquired integrity deficit. It's some level of AIDS. Acquired integrity. There's no integrity. Because it takes a man or a woman with integrity to know that the budget ought to get to the National Assembly by September, to give them 2-3 months to pass it and sign in, which even Buhari was doing. It takes a man or woman of integrity to use the toothpick and scrutinize and say, excuse me, you bought computers and laptops last year. Why are you programming it? Must you buy a vehicle every year? Because even if you look at the capital budget, for most MDAs, a good chunk of it is administrative. Because there are 2 types of capital projects. You have administrative capital, you have developmental capital. Administrative is their buildings, the cars, the things that they need to make themselves comfortable and run the bureaucracy. Yes. While developmental, you are talking of the hospitals, the schools, the airports, those things that will touch the roads, that will touch the lives of every Nigerian or any Nigerian in that sector. So it is that they are not committed. Because, for instance, why did it take the National Assembly up in January or February 2026 to begin to make noise about poor capital budget implementation of 2025? The Fiscal Responsibility Act is clear. It says quarterly budget implementation reports should be done by the Budget Office and the Ministry of Budget and Plan of Finance and be submitted to the National Assembly not later than 1 month after the end of every quarter. So, first quarter was supposed to come in April. Second quarter report was supposed to come in July. Third quarter report was supposed to come in October. And then final, at the end of the year, maybe in January, they released the full year budget. As at the end of the year, we had only 1 or 2 quarters available. And National Assembly never held any public hearing, never dragged in any minister to come and explain. And then they started,
never raised any
issue. They now started playing to the gallery in February of the other year.
You take that as playing to the gallery?
They played to the gallery because they knew they had duties and they refused deliberately to perform those duties. So what is it? They have the power to summon.
Yes.
They even have the power to order the Inspector General to arrest anybody who refuses to obey their summon. At which time have they done that? They were content with the fact that their own monies were released. So to hell with all of us.
No, so you are saying that you feel the money is available, they didn't want to spend it?
The money is available. At the last one, you know what the minister said? He said there are procedures to release of the money that they will not ask it. So no ministry made the procedures. The money is available. Mr. President said the money is available. Who am I to doubt His Excellency, President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, GCFR, me? to doubt him. He said the money is available.
Yeah, but when you look at
you want to doubt Mr. President.
I'm now asking.
Not with you.
No, I'm asking.
I'm not with you in this.
We're not
to say Mr. President is a liar.
I'm asking that in the face of a rollover, do we want to still stand and say the money is there?
The money is there.
Then why are we rolling over? Why are capital budgets not being implemented?
Because the persons we gave the money should come and tell us what they did with the money. They are not talking to us. You say you have realized more money.
Yes.
Where is the savings from oil subsidy? You remember we made a song and a dance about oil subsidy holding Nigeria from hitting Mars. The savings from oil subsidy will go into roads, education, housing, works, electricity, health. It was a song. From the Jonathan days until it was removed wholesale. Now, where is that money? Then you are bringing new taxation. You are bringing in all kinds of revenue generating things. You are saying you are saving money. So, if these things have happened in accordance with what you told us, I am not the one to be asked what is happening. I am saying Mr. President and his ministers need to be put on the hot seat to explain to us what they are doing with the money. They've not accounted to us how much they raked in, if it was short, and then to say this is why. We've not been able to get a proper account of where the process of borrowing. You know, the more you borrow, and the law says borrow only for human capital development and infrastructure. The more we borrow, we should see a spike or an improvement or an increase in the infrastructure. Where are the new roads, new hospitals, you know, improvements in education? Where are the new persons trained based on these monies we have drawn down? We have not seen that spike. But Mr. President made the loans at about 83 trillion, the debts. Today is about 152 or 153. And with the new borrowing, before he leaves, before the tenure ends early next year, you could be sure that we may be hitting 170, 180. So with that scenario, that question is not for me. It should be for the media to insist that they have a media chat. Say, Mr. President, you borrowed this, you borrowed this, you borrowed this. This is what from public domain, if anything has come in from oil revenue, this is what has come in, or we don't know. Can you give us an account?
I'd like us to continue in the direction we've been going. And I'm trying to gain from the years you've looked at this budget and see what it is we pick. We've touched on the possibility of the financing, which you have disagreed with. This administration has taken steps, just as you noted towards the end, to try to increase the revenue. One of the things they've done is passed tax reforms.
Yeah.
Now, what's your take on those reforms?
I have a thought process that is not making me happy, very happy about those reforms.
Okay.
Because there are two sides of the coin. When what you call reforms translates only into hardship for the people, you increase prices of fuel, you increase inflation spikes to the roof, and you are saying, we are reforming, pay more tax for the public good for today, reform so that when we get this money, we increase things that will do your welfare. And we agreed. We are paying more for virtually everything. But there has not been such, you know, a concomitant increase in government spending for welfare. So, yes, it is good for government to have more money, but have more money for what? Now, let's look at even what has happened recently, because we're in the age of so-called sound macroeconomic reforms, and people are praising government and then sinking on his mandate, and it gets funny for me. Because of the Israeli-American-Iraq war,
yes,
I bought diesel yesterday from, it used to be 1,020, I bought diesel yesterday at 1,120. So, market forces and the government have been quick to give me an extra bill of 100 naira per liter of diesel, right? Now, are we expecting that we government any more money? Now, the Bonilla should be around $80 or so from what I read. I'm not too sure. Around that. Are we going to have our government spend more money to improve our welfare when they are saying 2025 will be in November? And short of, you are asking me whether there's no money. All the dancing around may be pointing to the fact that either money has come and somebody removed it, or there's no money at all. So how do you reconcile this issue of happiness, and particularly how the document was altered and forged, and the National Assembly threw their hands into the air and refused to take action? Who forged it? At what point? Was it an offense known under Nigerian law? Definitely yes. It's been gone, buried. So why should I be happy? I mean, a couple of days ago, I just gave that example. Early in the year or late in the year, I ate at Jevenik, and apart from the VAT and the taxes there, Abuja IRS put up another 5% or thereabout. Okay?
I thought part of the reform was to harmonize.
But they have not harmonized anything now. They reform, they lie to you and to Nigerians. I'm saying a plate of food in a typical restaurant in Nigeria, in Abuja, gets about 12.5% tax. There's 7.5% for VAT, for the federation account, and 5% for weekend is Abuja team. 12.5%. Nobody's harmonizing anything. You see, I am too old for anybody to be clearly lying to me, looking me in the face and expecting me to be clapping for him. I don't know how old you were during the Babangida's days. I was in the university, 85 or thereabout. And Babangida made one famous speech, either famous or notorious, when he was doing this sub-business. And what I could remember, the summary of it is that for our today, for our tomorrow, that was 1985, for our tomorrow, we should give up our today and sweat and suffer for a better tomorrow. So I was already knowledgeable enough to be asked to give up my today to suffer in 1985 for a better tomorrow. Today is the year of our Lord 2026. How many years from 1985? My friend, do the maths.
So you feel that...
It's a scam. It's a scam. You can't be calling me at this age to be sacrificing for tomorrow while you who is making that call, there is no evidence. You are calling for a fast, but you gluttonously eat all and almost throwing up and clean your mouth, and then you come and declare a fast. Is Tinubu's government doing anything, showing that they're giving, sacrificing anything? Are they sacrificing anything? Absolutely nothing.
So you don't have a problem with the principle of let's tighten our belt to
we
reform?
have a principle. I love a principle where we will tighten our belt, save money, then you, the leader, announces and declares us this is what we have saved, and we jointly agree what to do with it, and we see that money in action, and we begin to draw benefits. I will even go back to him and say, I want to make more sacrifice for today, if not for myself, but for my children. But the sacrifices I've made, all the tax I've paid, all the thing, is to rubbish. They deride you. They ridicule you. They can't even understand your sense of patriotism. It's like they're walking you like an ass and a donkey while they're carrying the gold. So I cannot support more hardship. I just gave you a typical scenario. Market forces has increased the price of, I'm sure petrol, I think I saw petrol has added. Should add around 100 naira.
Oh yeah,
but are you in good conscience, Landra, are you in good conscience expecting any improvement in your welfare through public expenditure management, either from federal or from the Abuja mayor or from your state government? I know you don't come from Abuja, or your local government chairman. Do you even know your local government chairman? How much does he earn? How much comes to him? Has he done any project in where you come from? In the part of Nigeria I come from, we are still paying to get water projects functioning from our places, the diaspora in Abuja, Lagos, and in Europe and America. We're still contributing
so
to make
you're
sure
even
that
pointing
our boreholes and the electricity is running in
So
my
it's not
village.
only federal. We have this issue transcendent.
Responsibility. Deliberately sitting on public resources and doing what I'm saying, what I know. We are still contributing money to my village for electricity. We're still contributing for water. The last meeting we did was on our security. And we are still paying people. I'm not discussing police. We are still organizing vigilante. And the meeting we had people from our village who live in Canada and US all saying they don't want to come back and hear that their parents have been kidnapped and shot, and say they're ready to bring money. And yet you have a government that takes taxes from you. Excuse me.
So you've outlined what you feel are the uncomfortable sides of the tax part.
Yes, there are two
but
sides
you said there were some parts you looked at whenever you look at that tax thing.
Yes.
You've mentioned the one that you're not comfortable with. What are you comfortable with?
When you talk of comfort, I want to see increased revenues, and those revenues must be tied to expenditure for the public good.
No. Let's finish with the part of will it generate, because part of what I think they wanted to do with that is to generate, but also make it not as difficult, because they felt...
This is a storyline. Some of us who have been paying taxes all these years, is not a question of difficulty. Now, what I see that should come out of it that is good, if we are real humans, is that I want the top-notch professionals, the big lawyers, senior advocates, big doctors, big accountants, big engineers, most of them in the middle class. Some of them have been dodging tax. I want the government to squeeze them, and collect all those monies they say they will collect from them, so that they will get, by the time they start putting their due, they will get angry about, they will be like me to ask questions that, you are collecting $1 million from me. What are you giving me in return? And when public impact litigation is no longer about some young, angry men who are just 5-10 years at the bar, who can hardly pay their bills, when the people who are doing it become senior lawyers, whose cases are called out of turn, who sit in the inner bar, the judges will take them more seriously, and you are going to get much more serious judgment that holds the government to account. When you have that kind of things coming from senior lawyers, senior accountants, senior engineers, then we are likely to have increased accountability and transparency in the way public resources are managed. Although in Nigeria, when you push people to the wall, they'll break the wall and get across. But I want them to be pushed to the wall so that they will unconsciously begin to mobilize an army for transparency and accountability in Nigeria. They will get angry. And these questions ought to come.
So you feel Nigerians, so you feel Nigerians are not asking? They are not
asking. They are docile. People will even mock you. I have had people who I'm far better than even economically try to mock me about wasting my life for the public good. And I look at them, I pity them, because they don't have any consciousness in them. What I'm saying is that if these people, if these senior men and women in society, top professionals, are in the forefront of asking questions, I suppose answers may likely start coming. But as at now, there are some activists who are out there who have to bear the cross and work for the public good. And then the unfortunate thing is that over the years, some men and women have masqueraded as activists only to simply find their way into public office and do unprintable things. So as you are talking, somebody is sneering. This one is hungry. Maybe he's because they've not brought him to the table. So as soon as they bring him to the table, he will just eat and shut up and, you know.
We're rounding up now, so I need us to get to where we could make some suggestions.
Yeah.
From your years looking at the process, because what we're talking about now is the budget is supposed to be government's blueprint,
yes,
for how it will implement and
plans
affect
and policies,
and also affect the lives of citizens. Definitely. Like you said earlier, it is from the budget, that capital side, hospitals, roads, infrastructure, that touch you directly. Yeah. Now, if we look at it like this, and you have spent years doing this, if you were to make some suggestions to help us to have a better, responsive budget, what will the suggestions be?
There are so many of them, my brother, but the law and policies as we have them today are wonderful. But any system, it is still the human element that drives it.
Okay.
So the first thing I will say is that Nigerians should elect a trustworthy person as president or governor or senator. The electoral process, you can't take it away. Look at the Fiscal Responsibility Act. It says quarterly budget monitoring reports. During the Okonjo-Iweala days, they were doing it. And I recall an Okonjo-Iweala used to sit at the Hilton, and we grilled her for hours about the medium-term expenditure framework. I don't know whether you remember those days. She had knowledge, so she could sit down and comfortably answer my questions. Even when she couldn't answer some, you could see that it appeared she meant well. Mm-hmm. But you don't have anybody in that budget office or ministry who can sit down and talk to you reasonably and say, come and take questions. Don't feel abused. He will look at it as like you are in opposition to the government. He looks at it as you are fighting. There can be no rational discourse. So please, put men and women with capacity and competence to run the Ministry of Finance, Budget Office, Ministry of Budget and Planning, and then draw up these budget implementation reports. I expect the Minister of Finance or Budget and Planning or the President to have quarterly sessions where you could feel questions and answers from top-notch economic journalists about the performance of the economy, how much is coming in, where is it being spent. And from time to time, we should have a president who at least 3 or 4 times a year should also entertain the media, top-notch media, to ask him those policy questions. So for me, you have to report. Secondly, part of the things we discovered was that the Auditor General's reports are treated with levity. Those reports need to be followed up upon. If the Auditor General finds that somebody has mismanaged money and says return it, the authorities should make sure that person returns money to the treasury. And if people begin to see that their money is working for them, people will be very happy to pay taxes.
That Auditor General's report, it's yearly.
Yes, it's yearly.
Oh, you say it's not being...
Nobody is following up on it in terms of implementing the recommendations, because many people, many agencies, many institutions, many individuals have been indicted by the Auditor General's report, and that was the end of it. It lies down on the shelf. What happens? Public Accounts Committee of the National Assembly conducts hearings, writes another report on top of the Auditor General's report. It enters the same shelf where they gather dust. But this is not the way to go.
You paint a very gloomy picture.
No, I'm being honest with you. There is a shelf where they all gather. They are very dusty. You work in the National Assembly, so I'm sure you know where that shelf is.
I don't know where the shelf is.
You don't know.
I don't know of any shelf. And it's, like I said, a very painful picture when you look at it. We're talking about documents that are put in place to help check and correct the system. And from the budget to the audit report to even the Fiscal Responsibility
Act and Commission.
Yes.
Every minister should be giving us account every quarter. Beyond whatever you've written to the budget office, every minister should be able to, at the end of every quarter, he gathers stakeholders in health, in education, in aviation.
That's in the Fiscal Responsibility Act.
That's not specifically stated there, but you're asking for suggestions.
Yes.
I'm saying every minister should have that stakeholders forum at the end of every quarter, where he gives an account of the performance of the ministry, what they've achieved, and then have people thank him or ask him questions or make suggestions to him. Now you begin to build sectoral confidence, but that does not happen. If you look at the Minister of Health, the day he went and said, I only got 36 out of 218, you could possibly see he's disappointed, he's angry, he's not happy. Because you've already gone to your stakeholders and said, this is what you want to do, 218 billion. And what is 36 million out of 200? 0.000 something, not even up to half of 1%. What is he supposed to do with that 6 million? What can 36 million buy? So at the end of the day, he even looks rubbished.
Let me ask you on another level, because some will say that, and I think you touched on it, the issue of the give and take. Nigerians don't seem to also engage with the budget document as much as they should.
Because it's very bulky.
Okay.
And who is going to be reading 1,700 to 2,000 pages of figures that are not related? It's not your own personal expenditure. It's not like money coming to you. Most of the times, that budget has most people feel it's got no meaning to their day-to-day life. So why would you sit down to read 1,700 or 1,800 pages? But my worry is that those of us who go through that maze of madness and cut it out with a 20, 30, 40, 50-page summary to say these are the key issues. My worry is that nobody really seriously engages with that, because if we seriously engage with those small summaries that we do, other NGOs, budget, at least that can help you to take action or make more demands. But we're a little bit, non-committant. And then the voices you hear on social media are paid young men and women who are singing the hallelujah and the praises of the powers that be, that if you go through Twitter and Facebook, you have a very wrong impression of what is happening in the country. So that's an unfortunate scenario.
Well, it's been a very, I don't know how to put it, a very interesting discussion. It's also one that has raised a lot of issues. When you now look at the 2026, maybe I should round up on that note. If you look at the 2026 budget, the way it's going now, you've already said you have concerns. They've already moved implementation.
That's for 2025 to November.
To November. So it doesn't look like we're solving the problem of our budget this year.
We are not. And this is an election year. And the governance is going to take a backseat.
That's going to take a backseat.
These National Assembly members are supposed to hold primaries in April, May, right? So you can be sure that even those of them still in the National Assembly now may be finding it difficult. There are demands from constituency offices who to come and start their campaigns early. So even if they manage to pass this budget, they will simply run away to their constituencies to go and get their ticket to come back. Mr. President will also be running for a second term. So his focus will also be on his ticket. You can see his campaign buses are already bought and packed. So that tells you how prepared he is and what are his priorities. So the governors will do the same thing. So even if people used to pinch the public purse, they have more reason to pinch it now because they need money to do a lot of funny things. So if last year was bad, this year, I'm not a prophet, but I'm looking at the natural sequence of events from the experiences of previous elections. This year, let me stop there. This year, I don't know what to say. I don't expect anything better than last year.
Do you think in the mix of politics and governance, would you say it's balanced?
No, what I'm saying is that politics will take more of the time. If there are 24 hours in a day, the politician who is seeking to come back, assuming he wakes up around 5 to 6 and works until 10, 11, let's say 15, 16 hours in a day, he will likely dedicate about 12 to 14 hours to his politics of coming back. And so as not to let the system to grind to a halt or typically knock engine, he could put in 2 hours. So let it be like something is happening to governance. That's the experience.
Well, it's like we said, it's one we still have to monitor while we're looking at the picture. We'll still keep in touch with you if there are changes and we'll see what happens. But I'd like to thank you very much for spending time with us. Very grateful for your insights.
Thank you.
Have a lovely day.
My pleasure.
Now, they say if you want to know the true heart of a government, don't listen to the speeches, look at the budget. But how many of us really do? And when we look, what do we see? More importantly, what impact do we think these budgets have on our daily lives? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your views with us through our social media handles or send us an email. Remember, just join the conversation. And if you missed any part of tonight's program or you want to revisit previous episodes, head over to our YouTube channel. Just search Newsnight, click on the playlist, and catch up on the conversations you want. Thank you for spending your time with us. Until we meet again, remember, stay safe. Bye.